Hello, I am Dan.
And I'm Max.
And this is Fightography. Over the weekend, a little indie film came out, which you may or may not have seen at the cinema, called The Batman. Now,
Yes.
We covered the Bat himself last week, Mr. Pattinson, and it's a very good episode, and you should listen to it if you haven't already. But you see, there is what I'd call almost basically a co-lead in The Batman. And upon Googling their filmography, I was shocked to discover what they've actually been in. And given how I imagine they're now on a meteoric rise in Google searches, which will do us wonders for our traffic, I decided this week, having done the Bat, we're going to do the Cat. It's Zoë Kravitz for this week's Fightography.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Because, like I've said with all our friends, I've never heard of Zoë Kravitz until she rocked up in this film. So I'm interested to see all her other roles, and probably all the films I've never seen, which is going to be some great podcasting today.
Well, you'd be surprised that, like I was saying, when I Googled their filmography, they've been in so much that I think you have seen, because I've seen it, but I just never remembered her being in it, because it's,
Okay.
So, not too familiar with Zoë Kravitz, but yeah, having got familiar with her work this week, I think she's an interesting actor. I was surprised, she seems to be a bit of a nepotism baby, which, if you've got connections, work it, I guess, but she's got some famous parents. Her stepfather, until recently, was actually Jason Momoa. Fun fact for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, until his recent breakup.
Full, fucking, who do you think we are with this one?
I've got a little red book for our family tree.
Was her great-grandfather a fighter in World War II or something, perchance?
Quite possibly. But yeah, I just saw that, she's got a DC stepdaddy, and, well, she had, but he had a recent breakup, so...
DC stepdaddy. You've got such an affinity with words and language.
My man. All right.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess, what do you think of Zoë Kravitz? Any thoughts in particular, having seen...
Well, I've only seen it, to my knowledge. I've only seen her in The Batman, and I thought she was good. She was very solid. No real complaints. Yeah, did the job. Probably the second best live-action Catwoman.
Ooh, second best.
A huge list.
Who would you put first?
Well, Michelle Pfeiffer, obviously. Oh, I should have made a joke and gone Anne Hathaway. I love Anne Hathaway, to be honest. As an actress.
Yeah, I love that she's both a great actress and she got to prepare for the role twice, essentially. She got an early start because she was going to be Black Cat in Spider-Man 4 and then obviously repurposed that training for Catwoman.
I heard the rumour that she was sort of going to be Vulture's daughter in Spider-Man 4.
Well, here's the thing,
there's so many rumours about Spider-Man 4.
Black Cat was meant to either start off as Black Cat and end as, the Vulturess, or it was going to be the other way. She started as, the Vulture's, sidekick and then fall in love with Spider-Man and become the Black Cat to help him out or something.
I see.
That's what I've heard, at least.
Cool.
I guess we can open with our sort of mini The Batman reviews if people want to hear those, because we sort of talked it between us in length, so we won't go too into it. But I think we're a little divided, not hugely, because we both agree generally, but we're a little divided in how much we liked it, basically. Cause
I've always summarised it with good, not great. That's sort of how I've summarised it to everyone I've talked to about it, and everyone's just kind of went, yeah.
I'll put a little
Except
spoiler.
you, of course.
Yes.
Who thinks it's the best film ever made.
I'll put a little spoiler here just in case we go into the Batman in any great detail.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Warning.
Yes.
Watch the Batman. It's entertaining. It's a fun ride.
Now, I would say, as Max just alluded to there, it is not just good. It is the best live-action Batman movie we have had to date. It is a 9 out of 10 from me. I have some minor quibbles with it. Like, I wish they didn't fake out kill Alfred. I wish they either did or didn't even hint at it.
They did a lot of fake out kills, which I didn't like. And you'll hate me saying it, but I feel in other Batman, live-action Batmans, they would have just killed them.
I don't know. Alfred's the only real one that comes to mind with, like, actually fake out killing them. No one else.
Don't know why the mayor survived.
I didn't think that was like a fake out
death. I just thought it sort of undermined Riddler's plan. Like, Riddler sort of, for 10 minutes in that interview scene, they're hyping up some, like, really devious, diabolical plan. And at the end of the day, essentially no one dies from it. Like, I mean, compare it to The Dark Knight. The Joker's big diabolical plan is he kills the most important person in the city and essentially retires the other, the second, or vice versa. See, like, the Riddler's plan never really came off. If he killed the mayor, I know it seems like a sort of kind of simple thing, but it feels like, oh, well, at least his plan worked, so the Riddler sort of got a little bit of a victory. But it was just sort of like, we needed a final set piece where there could be a lot of action. And it was great action, and it was really cool and really thematic. I loved Batman's adrenaline. I feel like the only person who's talked about Batman's adrenaline thing. I thought that was really cool.
I wonder if it's like setting up like Bane, and if it's meant to be like a sort of venom injector thing, and like it's going to sort of like hint at down the line where he got it from, like wherever Bane got his shit from.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Like,
possibly. I've seen it in Kick-Ass. They sort of have a similar thing where they've got like an adrenaline boost thing that they use.
It could just be adrenaline, but I think it'd be quite cool if it becomes retroactive, like a sort of Venom sort of setup kind of deal, where it's like it's the Venom Bane uses.
Yeah, this is my thing. I mean, if I was to review the Batman real quickly, I had a really fun time with it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I think the reason it just doesn't really match, like, maybe what I view as, well, maybe it doesn't, how do I describe this? Maybe it isn't as, I don't think it's as good as you say it is, because it does have those few quibbles knock a few points off for me. And it is something like, I really, like one of our friends said that the first like 2.5 hours where it is just that kind of psychological thriller, that all the stuff that I really love, essentially like after the Riddler's interrogation scene, or after spoilers, I mean, I've spoiled it so much, but after after Falcone is killed, the film sort of, if the film could have tied itself up there and ended there, I think it would have been a much more solid film. But it had this kind of sense that we'd done the 2.5 hours of kind of psychological thriller stuff. Now we need to sort of chuck on a 40-minute superhero climax that does sort of undermine the Riddler's plot, because he doesn't succeed in any sort of sense at all. Maybe floods. Maybe if we go into the second one and the flood is a bit more chaotic, and the flood sort of is the inciting incident for more bad to happen, maybe on reflection the Riddler's plan would work. But on this alone, I don't know. Those little that's the thing, it's just those little quibbles that sort of take it off being like an amazing thing. And to be real, and we do this so much, and I find it so sort of pernickety, but I do think it's quite a good way of explaining my feeling towards it. If somebody said it was the best Batman film ever, I'd probably be like, yeah, because it does feel straight out the comic books. Batman looks sick. The opening 10 minutes was my favourite part. There was so much awesomeness. There was so much kind of like cool Batman stuff, and I was just like, yes, Batman. But I don't think it's the best Batman film, if that makes sense. Pour mon opinion.
Interesting. Yeah, it's been sort of a little dividing online, because people are doing the sort of the Batman versus the Dark Knight. It's been as expected, the sort of big fight online, and there's sort of fairly big camps of both. They have different sects, of whether or not you agree with which part of that each camp, because as always. I would say you sort of undersell the Riddler's victory a little bit. I would argue that he's probably the most destructive Batman film villain we've had, because he does flood the entirety of Gotham at the end of the film. It's entirely underwater, the whole city, which is probably the most destructive a Batman villain has been on film. And yes, he doesn't kill the mayor, but he does injure her, and he's already at this point unearthed all of the corrupt figures in Gotham.
I would say it was the most destructive. So I mean, you're going up with Bane in the. It's the most destructive sort of in a physical sense. Then again, you're going up against Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins, who, from memory, blows up the bridge and drugs everybody, which is up there. And you also have Bane, who imprisoned every police officer for a year, and essentially returned martial law and basically had criminals owning the city for maybe a year. But say sure, yeah. I think in terms of physicality, yes, he maybe causes the most destruction. And I love the Riddler in this. I love Paul Dano so much. But I think what's more powerful, I think, in The Dark Knight is the Joker sort of destroys Gotham's entire identity. And I think, because I've thought a lot about setting, because I think one of your criticisms about The Dark Knight and how it doesn't look very Gotham, I think is quite true. So I was sort of trying to think about, well, how does setting really work in the film as more of a standalone film than a sort of comic book film? And I was thinking that at the start of the film, Gotham's meant to be sort of in a new light, crime is down, Batman's essentially basically cleaned up the city, and it looks very glorious, it looks very kind of city skyline, it's very skyscrapery, and, the last set piece of the film, after Joker destroys both Harvey Dent, who is the soul of the city, and the Batman, who is the protector of the city, after he destroys those two key figures, the last set piece takes place in a burnt out building, at night, in a very kind of desolate, dilapidated place. And I think, yes, the Riddler maybe causes the most physical damage to Gotham, but in The Dark Knight, the Joker really destroys Gotham's soul, sort of metaphorically and sort of in an internal sense.
I get the point, but I would say that Riddler also succeeds in basically ripping up Gotham's entire it's already in a pretty shadowy place, but he succeeds in really throwing it to the dogs, because he unearths all of the corrupt figures in the city, really, that he wanted to, including reveals that not only thrust Gotham, but thrust Bruce Wayne specifically into a sort of place of self-doubt. He unearths excuse me, he unearths the corruption of the Waynes, which I think, to throw Batman and Gotham into a place of doubt and self-doubt, and then flood the entire city. I think, it succeeds in scarring both the identity and physically scarring Gotham and Batman. So I think I'd say he's on par at least with the Joker, if not debatably more successful in sort of fucking up Gotham.
I'd still say the Joker was more successful, but anyway, by the by, I would actually compare this. I think this film. I know this is going to be sacrilege to you. For me, the Batman is closer in sort of as a film quality wise to Joker than the Dark Knight.
Insulting.
I also think. What do you not think in a similar way to Joker? Actually, do you not? I felt that the sort of kind of whole Bruce, and I loved the angle, the sort of kind of Bruce Wayne's parents are kind of corrupt angle. Did it not just feel a little bit, not to criticise him, because I did enjoy the film, but did it not feel a bit like a sort of kind of 20-minute sort of I don't know, just sort of kind of a bit in Joker, spoilers for Joker as well, the whole kind of, is Joker Bruce Wayne, are they related? That was sort of 20 minutes of sort of just unnecessary time that was spent asking that question, to which the answer was sort of no. And so I think similarly in this one, there was just 20 minutes of, are my parents corrupt? Yes, they are. And then he talks to Alfred, oh, no, they're not. And they're not actually corrupt. I mean, they are in a sense, but they're not really fully corrupt. I feel if you want to make the Waynes corrupt, you've got to go fully, just make them corrupt, make them evil, make him kill the guy, he knows he was killing him, because he would win the mayoral vote, and that was what was important to him. By sort of wrapping it up in the, oh yeah, he just wanted him beaten up, he didn't want him killed, and he was doing it for who he loved. It sort of it paints that idea that, okay, yeah, he was corrupt, but it's essentially telling the audience, oh, he was still a good person. So that whole plot line sort of is sort of a bit benign, or not as weighty at all.
I get what you mean, but for me, because that other Batman stories have already done the Waynes were corrupt, like the Telltale series, I think, might have been the first one to do it. I could be wrong there, though. And then obviously Joker touches on it. I think for me, rather than what Joker does, where it feels totally unconnected to the rest of the plot, it's just a 20-minute what if Joker and Batman are related. The idea in this film that the Waynes are corrupt, but then they're not really corrupt. I think what it's actually saying is not that they are and they aren't. It's that no one is this sort of clear good or clear bad, because classic Batman has always had a very hard line on law and order, and Batman even says it in this film. It's like, you had a choice, and it's like because Batman comes from a place of privilege and he's always had quite a sheltered upbringing, even though obviously his parents were killed, but comparatively he's had a fairly sheltered upbringing. He's always had a very hard line on right and wrong. There's no blurred lines, and what this film does thematically throughout, and that's why the Waynes are sort of tied into the grander theme of the film and not just a one-off plot line. It does really sort of unmask the reality. Riddler, there we go, unmasking. It unmasks the reality that there aren't really any true villains and true heroes. Well, not many. Everyone is a little bit of both. Everyone, is capable of doing bad things, but for the right reasons. Catwoman does it, and she calls Bruce out on it. The Waynes did bad things for the right reason. Riddler essentially is doing sort of almost the right things for a lot of the film, but for also not the right things.
Well, it's interesting.
Unmasking corruption is pretty good, but the way he goes about it is pretty bad, and his end result goes way too far, and it is ultimately he is the villain. But you can see that there is a moral goodness somewhere within what he's trying to do, and it's one of the reasons I really love the Batman. Is that it does sort of, interrogate the sort of Bruce's outdated view on crime and punishment, and it makes Bruce interrogate himself about that, and it sort of reveals the reality that there are sort of life is more complicated than just good and bad, and I like how that's a very big thematic point of the film, and one that Bruce himself embraces as a character. Because I'll let you have your point first, but I'll just touch on how that goes into Batman's arc as a character in a minute, because it's basically my ideal Batman arc.
I mean, we still have to talk about Zoe Kravitz and her.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to say that probably the most interesting part of the film is sort of the idea. Although I feel in the dialogue it was a little bit, not massively, just being a little bit nitpicky here. It wasn't tremendously clear, but I do think the most interesting thing is to essentially saying that, the Riddler and Batman are essentially doing the same thing, and they are doing the same thing, to the point where you can view them as partners. Wouldn't it have been hilarious in that scene if Riddler was just like, my real name is Robin, we're partners?
Oh, God.
Because he kind of looks a bit Robin-y.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be so dumb. It'd be so dumb.
It'd be awful, but I mean, there is a... it's interesting to bring that up, because the interrogation scene at the end, you could look into that as the glass between them is also a mirror. It acts as a mirror, showing them that, they're not entirely so different. Without doing the whole, we're not so different, you and I line, without going into that shit.
That they do in The Dark Knight as well. In the same interrogation scene.
They do the interrogation scene, but I think they serve very different purposes. In The Dark Knight, in confrontation, in The Batman, it's more of a...
It's a confrontation where the Joker's like, we're the same people, we're the two sides of the same chord, we need each other.
Confrontations, but
essentially the same beats.
I feel The Dark Knight is more of a head-to-head, whereas in The Batman it's more of a reveal to Bruce that, look at what, you have.
Happens.
Essentially the Riddler reflecting to Batman the truth about him, whereas The Dark Knight is more of a confrontation. What I was just going to touch on, I'll finish my very brief.
I wonder what Zoe Kravitz's career is like.
I'll finish my very brief back tangent so we can tie a bow into it. But yeah, I think last week you mentioned when you were talking about Pattinson, like ideal Batman arcs, and I said then, I do believe that my ideal Batman arc is a Bruce who starts off sort of as the sort of psycho Batman where everyone thinks he's cool and badass, but he realises and it's framed as that being a toxic thing and something he needs to grow beyond. And then he eventually, in time, when he sees this, starts to heal. And as much as Bruce Wayne can, he comes to terms with his trauma and through it becomes a more empathetic Batman. It becomes more of a symbol of hope rather than a symbol of vengeance. And the Batman basically does that arc beat for beat exactly how I'd wanted it. At least starts it. And it was just beautiful seeing on screen. You know, he starts off the film literally being the shadows and ends up as a literal light in the dark. Yeah, Tuppence is just agreeing with me, I think. He ends. Yeah, he starts.
He was very dissatisfied.
Yeah, he starts as the shadows, and then he ends as a literal light in the darkness. And you know, Bruce Wayne realizes that vengeance won't change the past. You know, hope will. And the way he realizes it is not just. It's a gradual thing throughout the entire film. It's not just a sudden spin on the spot or anything. And I think it's done very well. So yeah, just a fantastic arc for Batman, and I think Robert Pattinson really sells it. I think he's the most compelling Bruce Wayne Batman performance we've had in live action. Oh, he looks fantastic, and just what he does with his eyes.
I'm not sure about Bruce Wayne. He gets about 3 scenes, so it's very difficult to compare.
There's been a lot of that, but what I think people miss the point.
Emo.
he is, but you know, he dresses as a bat and beats up criminals. I think Bruce Wayne is supposed to be a fairly emo because if you think about it, he's a traumatized kid who dresses up as a bat to beat people up. When he's young, starting out, I can buy he's fully emo. It's something he probably grows out of, yeah, but this is young, starting out Bruce Wayne. But yeah, there's been some critique online that there's not enough Bruce Wayne in the film. But I think that kind of misses the point because it's, you know, it is at this point in his career, Bruce Wayne just sees himself as Batman. That's all he is. You know, when you see him in Bruce Wayne mode, he's just Batman in a suit. And I think that's perfect for an early Batman who's still in a sort of toxic psycho Batman mindset. And again, you know, I love seeing Psycho Batman as a cool sort of thing, but I do think it's important to frame it as a toxic thing he needs to grow beyond. As I sort of said a minute ago, and he does, and it's beautiful. So I think we're going to see more of the Playboy Bruce Wayne going forward. And overall, I think the cinematography was beautiful. Performance is fantastic all round. Perfectly paced for me. I know some people disagree, but I was gripped the entire time. There's not one scene where I would have left for the toilet, if that was something I did anyway. Yeah, just fantastic. Patterson kills it with his... Just what he does with his eyes is just incredible. Brilliant writing. Oh, I could gush about it all day, but we should not. I think we touched on everything, and maybe we'll do a full review.
As you can tell, 9 out of 10 from Dan, 7.5 out of 10 from me.
Yeah.
Zoë Kravitz's acting career.
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously it ties us in nicely because she is Catwoman in the Batman.
Is she?
She is. Whoa. Yeah, you wouldn't have thought it.
Could have fooled me.
And you know, I think the way they use Catwoman in the Batman is fantastic. She's sort of like a slightly antagonistic, but ultimately a partner to Batman in the story, and I think that's a brilliant way to tie her in. The Riddler, obviously, brilliant as the main antagonist, but Paul Dano will probably get his own episode one day. Penguin's great as an obstacle. I think, yeah, it could have been overstuffed, but they use all the characters well. Anyway, yeah, so...
What they do is they use the characters not as, like... See, something that, like, say, Spider-Man 2 does is... Spider-Man 2 goes, oh, here are all these characters, these are the villains. What I think the Batman does... is they sort of go, well, here's the characters, and they all have a sort of purpose to the plot, but they're not necessarily villains. They're not, like, the Penguin isn't the villain of this film. He's just a kind of side character that exists within the film. And that's what you do, really, when you want to have a lot of characters that's kind of well known. Like Catwoman.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way of weaving it all together. You know, Penguin's more of an obstacle. But yeah, so Catwoman in this film, I think Zoë Kravitz, in some places steals the show, and when she doesn't just steal the show outright, she's just great throughout. Fantastic performance, fantastically used. What do you think of her, Catwoman?
I I thought it was good. I thought it was decent. I thought it was fine. I think it was sort of because I've always had a tricky thing with Catwoman because I think Catwoman. I mean, I don't mind Catwoman, but essentially the plot that's only ever done with Catwoman is she's sort of like an anti-hero or anti-villain or whatever, and she sort of does criminal acts, but she helps out Batman, and it sort of doesn't tremendously extend beyond that. I think it's like that's the dynamic that's in the Batman. I just think they use it. They sort of get every last kind of piece of meat they can from that relationship. But I think as a character, that's something that's always been done, and it's a good thing. It's actually in the '66 Adam West Batman, she's more just a straight up villain. But from like Michelle Pfeiffer to sort of today, and I think it's a good dynamic because I think it's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, I thought she was good in it. I'm not sure how actually no, she good, perfectly solid, quite capable, quite dangerous when it comes to a battle royale. Probably going to be a favourite, I imagine. Yes. I liked how her fingernails were like cat claws. As someone who's not really known for their makeup or nailing skills.
It was nice how they sort of normally I think it's like part of her suit they sort of make it. She's got like sort of knife fingers, but it was quite nice how they sort of worked into the sort of glamorous side of Catwoman is also her dangerous side. It was
like how her nice. Face mask had little cat ears, sort of. Yeah, like the little grooves in the hat, sort of.
Yeah, like the sort of seams of the balaclava sort of thing. Yeah, cat ears. Yeah,
that was quite cool. I thought it was a very solid interpretation.
Yeah, great job. I'm sure she'll show up in the Batman too, which will be the Batman.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Maybe not. Maybe she won't.
I'm sure she'll show up at some point. Maybe not immediately. But yeah, she's got the claws. She's got the whip. She's a very skilled combatant, hand to hand.
Quite kung fu-y. Quite leg
agile.
Kick, karate kid.
Yep. Sweep the leg. Just
sorry, I just imagine her in the Karate Kid. And how that would look going up against like a 16-year-old kid from like the 70s or whatever, or 80s. Just like this like old dude to sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg. Training with Storks. Anyway. Stork Man.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it actually before we move on for the Batman. I just wanted to touch on the cinematographer because the cinematography is beautiful.
We're going back to the Batman review, are we?
Just as we're finishing the talking about the Batman, I just wanted to touch on. I think
it was
Greg or Greg.
It was an incredible looking film.
Yeah, and the only reason I want to bring it up is because the cinematographer also did the cinematography for Dune. Some of the Mandalorian and Rogue One, so really, really strong track record. So just wanted to shed a light on them, because I think cinematographers sort of get under recognised by general public. So just wanted to touch on them.
I think over the last
beautiful work.
decade or so, they've become a lot more popular. Definitely.
Yeah,
I'd actually. You'd hate me saying it. I think maybe like someone like Christopher Nolan, who has, I think, a background in cinematography, may have kind of boosted their acknowledgement towards films.
Maybe. There's an ego now.
Catwoman. Let's finish the fucking Batman review.
Yeah, we'll go back to other Batman stuff in future, I'm sure. But
we don't need to go.
They're not in this podcast. Like when you do a future Batman episode, I'm sure we'll sort of touch on other Batman and whatnot.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's our review. That's Catwoman. Claws, acrobatic, whip. She uses a gun, but I don't think she needs to have a gun, does she? Do you give her the gun?
Yeah, I don't think does she have it like... Yeah, she sort of does have it on her person. I don't know, we could give her a gun. I'm not
let's give her a
gun.
Let's give her a gun as well. Yeah. Claws, whip, acrobatic prowess, and a gun. So fairly skilled. Now, who shall I pick? I know how I'll segue this. I'm trying to think which is the best segue, but... So, okay,
and surely the best segue is to contemplate which segue is the best. What a great segue.
Oh.
Nailed it.
Oh, I'm working on like 3 hours sleep. Leave me alone. Okay, yeah, so now this is a surprising one, because here we get into what I was talking about at the start, where Zoe Kravitz has been in a lot more than you'd realise she's actually been in.
Yeah, I've not seen her in any... Well, I don't think I have, so maybe I have. I'm quite excited to see what she's been in.
The first film I know you have seen, but you wouldn't have recognised her.
Oh wait, she was in a Shyamalan film?
She was.
Hang on, give me a minute.
Alright, actually, yeah.
I've seen every Shyamalan film very passionately.
To make up...
Was she like a kid in The Sixth Sense or something when she was like 10?
No, you wouldn't recognise Zoe Kravitz. So to make up for the lengthy discussion about the Batman, we can move on to this very swift discussion about this film, because it was unwatchably bad. I could not finish it. I had to... Especially when I saw her involvement in it, it was awful. You mentioned it in our sort of preamble for the podcast. I
haven't seen every Shyamalan film, to be honest. I'll admit this now.
It's the Will Smith, Jaden Smith team-up.
Okay.
Directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who has crimes to answer for this. After Earth. She plays a character called... Yeah, she plays a character called Senshi Range, who I believe is Jaden Smith's sister. But basically, her involvement in this film is she gets killed and then acts like a ghostly, "Ooh, you didn't save me, Jaden Smith." And at the end, she goes, "Ooh, redeem yourself now, Jaden Smith."
How old was she? How old was she in it?
She was recognisably Zoe Kravitz. She was probably like late teens, early 20s, because you see her. It's not like, oh yeah, that's her as a kid. You go, oh yeah, that's Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I'd sound like mid-teens at the youngest.
Not to defend After Earth, or well, not to. No, I'm not going to defend After Earth. Not to defend M. Night Shyamalan, and it's sort of a tricky barrier, because I do have to. You know, if you sign up to be a director, you're the director of the film, and therefore you have the responsibility of the director on the film. So yes, he is the director. He has the. I suppose he has to take the burden / responsibility that is being the director of After Earth. However, I hear, doing much research and having a big love for Shyamalan, is that this was sort of unofficially, essentially directed by Will Smith, or like kind of like Will Smith took on such a heavy role in the process of making the film.
Well, he produced it, so I can believe that, because it was his production.
Yeah, that he had quite a large role in it. And at the end of the day, Shyamalan signed on as director, so Shyamalan's the director. But methinks that it was... If I was to defend Shyamalan for this film, which is quite difficult, blame Will Smith. Blame Will Smith.
I mean, to be fair, it doesn't feel in any way like a Shyamalan film. There's no real big twist. It is... I can run you through the plot super quickly without even fucking... Because what I did, I watched up to the bit where they crash on Earth. I watched up to the bit where they crash on Earth, and this was half an hour in. My God, my eyes had glazed over. I was barely taking it in, despite my best efforts. It was horrendous. So I said, all right, I've not seen Zoe Kravitz yet, apart from one brief flash. I'll Google what her involvement is, just, you know, out of curiosity. Oh, she dies in one very brief scene, and that's it, and then she's a ghost for the rest of the film. Because I chose this film thinking, oh, it could be like a cool sci-fi character to bring into it. It's defenseless sister who gets murdered off screen fairly quickly. Okay. So, you know, not a strong competitor.
Okay. So defenseless sister, that's what we're going with.
So upon seeing her involvement,
Google what she looks like.
Yeah, upon seeing her involvement, I tracked down as many clips from the rest of the films I could find, because there's like 10 of them on YouTube which do the sort of film in order clips. And as predicted, I could have told you the plot without even watching those clips. They crash on Earth. they crash on Earth, and Will Smith's legs are broken, and his son, Jaden Smith, has to go and activate the distress beacon. So they have to bond whilst not being close to each other physically, but they are constantly in contact with each other, and they must learn to overcome their distant and frosty relationship whilst Jaden Smith goes on a perilous quest. It's every film remotely like that you've ever seen. It's just that. He has an incident where he thinks he's going to die and he gets all scared, and then he pulls through it, and then he has to fight a giant bird, and then he calls out Will Smith for how he blames him for not saving Zoe Kravitz, who keeps going, "Ooh, you didn't save me, Jaden."
There's a really niche reference. There's a Simpsons episode where they do really old tales, and they do Hamlet as Bart and Bart's Hamlet. And you have Homer as his father, and he just comes through the walls just going "Ooh," in that very dramatic waggle your fingers sort of way, and I just imagine her doing that sort of thing.
She may as well be. Film. Oh, it is, yeah. Because Jaden Smith feels guilty because he was a kid and he was too scared to come out and fight the monster, and that's his whole arc, is overcoming that fear. Because basically the monster thing that
actually. Yeah. Sorry. Lord knows I'm a hypocrite, but this actually goes. So let's restart our Batman review.
Oh fuck!
Because one of the bits, my favourite sort of, not necessarily the dialogue, but one of my favourite sort of ideas in the film was sort of Alfred telling Bruce that you were just a kid, you couldn't have done anything. Yeah. I was a man, I should have done something. I really liked that idea. Yeah. So the fact that in this they go, "You're a kid, you should have saved it."
Yeah, it's it's horrific. Basically, there are these so Earth has been devastated. This was the first impression you get in the film is Jaden Smith barely even attempting to act narration where he goes, "I live in space. Earth got ruined by a conflict, and now we live in space and there are aliens and they want to kill us." And it is the most GCSE quick, let's put up stock footage of big fossil fuel plant pumping out fumes and people looking a bit distressed in an evacuation situation.
A lack of subtlety.
It is literally just, you could Google distressing images from world news, and these are the first 5 results you get put into a PowerPoint. Overlapped with Jaden Smith's horrific narration, and that's the first impression you get of the film, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? And basically the premise is that they're in space because Earth got ruined, and then these aliens show up and they have these monsters which can smell fear, literally, so you have to try and hide from them by having no fear, and it's called ghosting, and they have to defeat the monsters by ghosting them, which is quite funny to hear. Just don't return their messages and you'll be safe.
Load up Tinder.
Oh God. So they have to have no fear, so the whole thing's about overcoming fear. And Jaden Smith was scared at the start, but by the end he's not scared anymore, and that's his arc. And so, one of these monsters is what kills Zoe Kravitz. She gets mauled by this monster when Jaden Smith is a baby. And then he's been haunted by the
powerless. She's powerless. Does she have no abilities, no sort of weaponry, no sort of anything to defend us?
I will be a fucking saint, because this film does not deserve any sort of championing. They do have these double-ended blades, which have
okay.
They can switch out what the blades are. There's a weird organic technology thing where it can switch whatever the blade is. So we'll grant her one of those.
Okay.
For this,
she's got a knife.
She's got she's basically got a Darth Maul sword, a double-ended big blade thing. That's what all she.
Is it that long?
Yeah, it's quite a long one. It's it's a spear kind of thing, but double-ended.
Okay, so she's got Darth Vader's lightsaber, but she is powerless sister and seems pretty ineffectual at using him. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Yeah, fuck that film. Awful. Don't bother watching it.
Okay.
Moving on. Oh god. On to another terrible film I had to watch.
I love how, you're championing Zoe Kravitz as someone who's been in lots of films, and yet before every film now you just go, oh.
It's okay, we're gonna sandwich this. We started off with the Batman, fantastic. Okay. We're gonna have the shit now, and then we're gonna end on the good stuff again.
Lovely shit sandwich. It's not her fault. I'm sure she's good in it. It's,
Here's the thing with her roles. I can say now, the trend with her roles, up until the Batman, she's always like the bridesmaid, never the bride. She always is like these extra bits on the side, but she never gets to really do much herself, which is why you don't really remember her in many of these films.
Okay. Fucking hell. Okay, so let's continue this shit.
Another shit film I had to watch. So the second film of the shit sandwich is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, aka The Crimes Against Cinema.
She's in that.
She is Lita Lestrange, who is the one who dies at the end.
Does she die then? God, I don't remember that film.
Yeah, there's like the bit...
I think I was so underwhelmed by it.
Spoilers, I guess, but don't bother worrying about it. It's the bit at the end where Grindelwald's got the blue fire everywhere, and then she's the one who's like, "Go, Scamander!
Does she
I love
sacrifice
you."
herself?
Yeah, she gets burned up on the flame. That's her. That's Zoe Kravitz.
And you love what I'll tell you now, because I know you don't know Harry Potter. What you do love in sort of prequel films is throwing in as many references to the original franchise.
Is it Nagini?
That somehow gets people's house.
Yeah.
Well, her name is Lestrange, which is I don't know how well you know Harry Potter, but Bellatrix. That's her surname as well. So there's maybe some relation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The entire film is them going, "Hey, look, this is going to be in Harry Potter. Hey, look, this is going to be in Harry Potter. Hey, Dumbledore, he's in Harry Potter.
Oh,
Dumbledore's gay."
The marketing for those films is just hilarious. The best one of the Fantastic Beasts one is the first one, and yet they seem to be ashamed of that title with the rest of them, because this one is...
I like the first one. The first one I enjoyed.
Yeah, the first one's like a fun little spin-off, but the sequels seem to be going... Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Grindelwald, or whatever the Crimes of Grindelwald. And the new one is even worse. I'm pretty sure the word "and" is bigger than the actual Fantastic Beasts title, where it's Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore is how they seem to be marketing it.
I remember this was quite no, it wasn't a fun experience. I didn't enjoy the film at all. This was sort of when I was sort of learning and sort of becoming what I am now, of this really severe critical guy. I was learning about writing, and and I saw this film with my ex and her family, and they were huge Harry Potter fans, and they loved Harry Potter so much. And I was sort of Harry Potter's good. I was brought up on Harry Potter, pretty solid. I don't think there's a terrible film there. But they were so excited to see it, and they don't sort of study writing or filmmaking in any sort of way, and they were loving it. They were having a good time, which is good, I suppose. and afterwards they were just like, "Oh wow," and I was just like, "Yeah, but it was shit."
Yeah, it's...
And then me sort of having to explain that you've got Grindelwald, who is a character who is sort of Hitler-esque in the sense that he wants to create genocide against one race of people. So his big plan is he wants to kill Muggles, which are human people like you and me, or just you, because I'm a wizard.
Oh, of course.
And so his plot is he wants to basically commit genocide against all humans. Now there's this other character who is a wizard or a witch, and she's fallen in love with a human. And somehow, maybe I'm doing this a disservice, her justification to joining Wizard Hitler is that if she joins him, he will allow her to be with him, even though he is committed to mass human genocide.
As far as I can work out, the one convincing line that he tells her, which somehow completely sells her, is he just goes, "I'm fighting for us to have the right to love who we love." And that's it. And then she goes, oh, that means he won't mind if I fall in love with a human who he's just explicitly
her character
said he
is
wants
meant to be
kill.
a little bit unintelligent.
Yeah.
I think, or she's meant to be ditzy, a little bit ditzy.
Oh,
but,
dear.
like,
oh, my.
it's like me sort of like joining forces with Mike Myers because I want him to save my teenage girlfriend or something. So it doesn't make sense. Or, I'm going to team up with Batman because I want him to, help. Actually, no, that doesn't sort of work. I'm going to team up with the Joker because I want him to, like, not blow up Gotham. It sort of doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, it's just funny seeing how different Mads Mikkelsen looks in the Crimes of Grindelwald. He looks especially like Johnny Depp.
I feel so bad for Mads Mikkelsen because he's one of my I really enjoy it. Like he plays Hannibal Lecter in the Hannibal TV series. He's great in Casino Royale. I can't tell you how good he is in Casino Royale.
Oh yeah.
He's in like a foreign film called The Hunt. And he's great in that, and it's a really sad performance. And he's a really underrated great actor. And I hope / predict, if he hasn't already, he gets like an Oscar nomination in like the next 10 years.
He deserves one at some point, yeah. So Leta Lestrange in Crimes of Grindelwald. Dumbledore with his weird, vaguely Irish accent at times, or not Irish, Cornish. It's like vaguely Cornish is Dumbledore, which I found odd. He mentions explicitly that Leta Lestrange is one of his best students, so a very talented witch. And you see her. I want to give her, because she's the most talented witch. I want to give her all the spells you see in Fantastic Beasts, which isn't really much, to be honest. But what we see her do on screen, she can make objects fly around. Nice. She has like what essentially seems to be a laser blast, where it's just like hits people and doesn't really do much. They just sort of get knocked
Watching
backwards.
Someone who doesn't watch Harry Potter talk about Harry Potter. She uses some kind of laser blast.
Well, I can't work out what it's meant to do, because like the first time she uses it is against these weird demon cats, so it doesn't work, they just multiply. And the second time she uses it, it's against Grindelwald, who just sort of blocks it. So I think it's meant to be like a sort of concussive thing, because it sort of vaguely knocks the cats backwards slightly.
Probably Expelliarmus, I'm guessing.
I don't think she said it's Expelliarmus though, but maybe.
Okay.
Some sort of concussive
We
blast.
have knowledge of film and Harry Potter.
She does a spell where she like takes someone's mouth away to shut them up, because she can do like charms, which are like a specific type of spell. I'm informed by the Harry Potter wiki because I googled it to make sure. And well, we also see Lumos done by someone else, but Kochi's so talented, I want to say she could probably do Lumos as well. There's lots of like magicking of binds, both undoing binds and tying people up with binds. So she can probably do that. Again, she's talented. So yeah, and that's basically all the actual spells you really see people do. There's like other magic around them, but seeing what in terms of what you see people do, that's sort of more or less it really in Fantastic Beasts 2. I can't remember the first one as well, but I think they do a few other things. I know they like wipe Baker Boy's memory, they wipe his memory, but I think that's quite a hard spell to do, so maybe we don't give that to Leta because we don't see her do it herself, from what I remember of the first one.
We'll see. She's got a lot there. She's got a lot of powers there.
So talented witch, so we've got two fairly skilled fighters and one who's probably going to die instantly, maybe even off screen before the battle starts. Who knows? So yeah, that's cool. Fantastic Beasts, Leta Lestrange. Moving on, another surprising role which I was not expecting. She is the voice of Mary Jane Watson in Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, she is. I did know
Ah.
that. So, Mary Jane Watson,
grieving widow, grieving widow of Spider-Man. That is essentially, another fairly helpless character. You'd think. Into the Spider-Verse, banging film, fantastic, brilliant animation. Can't wait for the sequel. Brilliant story. Gets the character just perfect. Amazing. All I have to say on it, really. Any thoughts to the contrary?
She can be effectively useless. No, I enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse. I think it's better than No Way Home, but,
I can take that, yeah. I'll take that as a perfectly valid claim. I can totally get on board. Yeah.
But Mary Jane Watson going to be pretty fucking useless, to be honest.
So far it's 2 for 2. 2 skilled combatants, 2 useless fighters. It's going to be a fairly balanced
to be
fight.
fair, one of them has a maul blade. What could Mary Jane get? Can we give her something?
What can she have? We could give her web shooters. I'm sure Peter could have left some web shooters behind for her, because Aunt May has them at one point.
No, that's too OP. I'm thinking like...
But our web shooters...
she's got nothing.
Our web shooters that OP without like spider powers to use them like properly, because like she can basically tie people up from a distance.
Well, yeah, we can give her... Well, she probably couldn't even do that. She could shoot it at someone and probably miss.
Jesus. I think she could probably like...
She's going to be pretty useless. We could try and give her web shooters, but she's going to be useless with them.
Yeah, probably not going to do fare too well. But
yeah, Into the Spider-Verse. I'd watch it if you haven't. Good, solid comic book film.
Yes, I think it might still be on Netflix. If not, it's definitely worth picking up the DVD, if not the Blu-ray. Great film. So after Spider-Verse, we're going to move on to another Marvel film she was in. And as soon as I saw she was in it, I realised exactly who she was, because she's like probably one of the most memorable bits of like one of the most memorable scenes of the film. So I wonder if you're going to get it. X-Men First Class.
First Class, yeah.
She is Angel Salvador, who is the butterfly stripper girl. It's the best way to sum up her character.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but it's not. It's the fact that before that you introduced her by saying it's the best part of the film.
Oh, God, yeah. It's not that bit specifically, it's the whole recruitment of mutant scene. That whole, that whole thing. Yeah.
Professor Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
Magneto.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself. That's quite funny.
Yeah. Brilliant cameo.
I like X-Men First Class. I think it's quite underrated.
Yeah.
I wonder, and this is going to be bloody controversial. It might be my favourite X-Men film.
Is that including Logan? Is what I would ask.
Oh no, not including Logan. Okay, yeah, no, Logan.
But Logan is kind
of
even though
I had Logan, I had Logan spoilt for me, and I've only seen it once, and it's not the film's fault, and like it was still great, but like I had it spoilt for me. Both spoilers.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and it just so like undid my love of it. Like, I couldn't love it. It was just like, oh, okay, this is well made. That's all I could have really done.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, Logan is fantastic. It's, I'm sure we'll do a Hugh Jackman episode. We'll touch on it more, but
Hugh Jackman,
the huge Yak Man himself.
I don't know why, but in school there was this really like weird trend where like all the girls would walk around and just go, Hugh Jackman. I don't know why.
No, I'm not entirely sure why.
Hugh Jackman.
Like,
here's me, the nerdy guy, doing the polymer. How much weight can go into a carry bag before it snaps? Well, all my girl partners are just like Hugh Jackman. It's quite a vivid memory.
A traumatising experience for young Max, by the sounds of it.
I was just such a nerd.
Oh dear. Yeah. But yeah,
anyway,
First
tell
Class.
us about Alien Stripper Girl.
So Angel Salvador. So she.
Let's call her Angel Salvador.
That's the name she chooses.
Okay.
She has these big butterfly wings, which instantly make me go, they're not angel wings. Why not make them more angel-like if you're Angel Salvador? There's a guy in this universe who has angel wings, so,
Probably that reason, to be honest.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. She's got those, so she can, fly around, and she can also, spit fire acid stuff at people, which is a pretty good
that's going to be useful. Can she just do that at will?
Yes.
That's going to be good.
During the final battle, she has a whole shootout with the other flying guy, but the good one who doesn't turn evil. Who is it Banshee? I think it's Banshee because he screams to make himself fly. And they have a whole shootout around boats.
Yeah. I like that kid. He's funny in that.
Yeah, good guy, good kid. So yeah, she's not really in it. That's the thing. Again, she's not really in it much. You could find a compilation of all her scenes on YouTube, and it's like 5 minutes long, which is really depressing. But you know, she does the best of what she's given in that film. I'm like, yeah, I buy you are this sort of, you know, ex-stripper, now mutant who wants to side with Magneto. I buy that, although you're not really given much to do with it. But yeah,
cool.
Like I said, what I said, I knew who she was. It's just the imagery of like the butterfly wings unfolding from her back, while Charles and Eric just sort of go, nice, sort of nodding to each other.
Eric looking at the angel wings, Charles looking elsewhere.
Yeah, well,
Xavier's a dirty bastard, isn't he?
Oh, he is. Especially McAvoy's Xavier. He's a real dog.
I was thinking Stuart.
Well, I'm sure we'll see soon in a certain upcoming film. When he, But yeah, no, First Class, I agree. It's a very solid. If we're talking like full X-Men films and not sort of spin-offs like Logan and Deadpool, I'd say you could easily say it's not the best one.
Yeah,
I
thought it was. I like German Nazi Hunter. That was going to be like the full film, but I like the ending, the climax. I like their relationship, and I think that's the best part. You've got Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy when they're like coming into their prime, and they just sell this really strong relationship very well.
Oh yeah,
and then you know, and just seeing how it ends and how their philosophies sort of kind of break them apart. I dig it for for them two performances alone, and then there's a bit more. And, good action scenes, good, interesting characters. Yeah, no, I dug it. Good X-Men film. The best X-Men film.
It's just like, I think it's the most fresh and fun an X-Men film has felt, really. Yeah. It's got a real energy to it.
I know like Days of Future Past and maybe like X1 and X2. Oh, X2 is quite good.
X2 is very good.
I know they probably do more with it, and this is a lot more kind of simpler. It feels maybe a little kind of more condensed, more kind of conversations at a table than like grand set pieces and millions of dollars spent on explosions. But I like that, and I like it. I dig it.
Yeah, very solid film. Unlike the next film,
there's a bit of lettuce in between that shit sandwich.
Just a nice little peppering. I thought, delicious. Now the next film is not terrible. Like, it does what it wants to do adequately.
I'll be the judge of that.
It's a young adult film, so it's and it feels very young adult film. It's like that peak era. It's Divergent.
Oh,
she plays Christina, who is like.
I've not seen Divergent.
Well, Shailene Woodley is the main character, and then Christina is like her best friend, who probably has more to do with
Elgort, that guy in it. Am I wrong?
He might be, but I
could be wrong.
I don't remember seeing him in it. If he is, I wouldn't have recognised him. Let's put it that way.
I'm probably wrong with it.
You got Rose from Titanic as the villain, which was interesting.
Kate Winslet.
Yeah. Rose from Titanic, like I said.
Multi-Oscar winning, actress Kate Winslet.
Rose from Titanic.
Rose. Yeah, cool.
But yeah, Christina is basically the main character's best friend, who probably gets way more to do in the book, but because of the nature of film adaptations, she doesn't have as much to do. But you see her sort of be a very competent fighter.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. So
weapons?
She's got a gun. She's got like a right. Well, here's the thing.
Nice.
There are two different types of gun they use. They use one for training, which has like a dart which can simulate a bullet wound. It like stimulates your pain center to make it seem like a bullet gun or a bullet wound.
Ooh.
And then later on, they have actual guns which fire actual bullets. So
I will give her actual guns.
yeah. I was just if I was to say the word, if I was to say this film to you, what would you think? What would you think it's like?
Well, I know. I actually don't know what it's about, but I know it basically started because of Twilight, which is, goes back to last week's episode and Robert Pattinson. It's quite funny how that works. So Twilight. Well, I guess Harry Potter fueled Twilight, which fueled just this mass expansion of just teen sci-fi. What's the word when they're in the future? Dystopian future.
Young adult dystopian stuff.
The government are awful. you know, the only people who can save the world is a bunch of kids who are, you know, unbearable. And, you know, they do training to fight. I don't know. I actually don't know what it's
about. Divergent, if you're a young adult, I'm sure you think it's fantastic. And I've power to you. You know, it's not a badly made film. Yeah. But it's just, I've grown past the point where I can sort of see these things without seeing them for exactly what they are. And, you know, if you like them, cool. I'm glad you enjoy them because they're probably made for you. But I could not help but notice certain things which I would mark it down for. Like, the plot basically is society is in ruins, as it always is in these dystopian things. There's a city that's walled off. Which is, everyone lives in the city, which is like
dystopian drama. Society is fucked. Tick. Go on.
Like, walled off from the rest of the world because there's a mysterious threat outside, which no one really knows what it is anymore because it's been so long.
Oh, yeah, Maze Runner. Tick.
Yeah. And basically society is divided into 5 groups, which is like dependent on your personality traits. And once you've decided
the districts in Hunger Games, tick.
Sort of, yeah. Like, depending on what, like, you have to choose when you become of age. You have to choose which group you go into, and you have to stay with that group for the rest of your life. You can't change it at any point for any reason.
Hufflepuff, Gryffindor stuff.
There's literally a scene where I was expecting the Sorting Hat to come out and go Gryffindor. It's literally that scene.
I wonder what the inspiration was for these films, eh?
But basically, it's very clearly an allegory for, like, when you're a teenager, you feel like you've got to make up decisions that define the rest of your life, and you don't want to do that as a teenager. You want to rebel and have freedom to be whatever you want to be. That is the plot of this film, basically. Because the main girl is a divergent, and she's a bit of everything. She's a bit of all the groups, and she's a threat. Yeah, because she doesn't.
She's going to have an idea.
Yeah. There's literally multiple lines in the film which go, I kid you not, pretty much word for word, you don't conform to society's rules. You're a threat to them. That's the that's why the villains don't like diversions.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So, you know, it's about as subtle as a hammer to the face, but it's you know, it's a young adult novel. What do you want?
I mean, it's you know, it's fun joking about it, but you know, if you're a teen and you like it, cool. Cool. I get it. I liked, you know, I guess teen books when I was that age. Not those ones, but
yeah, there was a few.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid was pretty solid. They're not teen, actually. They're probably kids. How old was I when I was reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid? Probably about 10 or 11.
I had a book called Daniel X, which was just fantastic.
Oh, nice. Oh, you have like the
It was about, I don't know if you read it, but it was this kid who was basically this alien hunter, and he's got like a list of aliens who are criminals on Earth he's got to track down and take out.
Nice.
This number one is the Prayer, who killed his family, and he wants to avenge them. And he's got to fight
and
different
they turned that
aliens.
into a film called After Earth.
Oh, no! Oh, God.
Do you remember Skullduggery Pleasant?
Yes!
That was the one.
Yes,
like
I
the
do.
Skull Detective.
Oh, how has that not been made into a film yet? That is like
I don't know,
big and out for film adaptation.
Yeah.
Detective Ghost Rider.
Probably CGI. Yeah.
That's.
Can't wait. They'll do one eventually, and I'm so up for it.
Yeah, they'll get there. You know, it took like 10 years to do Slender Man, so they'll get to Skullduggery Pleasant eventually. But yeah, Shailene Woodley, who's the main character, and Christina, who's Zoë Kravitz, they're both part of Dauntless, I think is the group's name, who are like the cops and the soldiers who are like cool and reckless, and they want because they're cool and reckless. What's funny is that they just seem to run everywhere, like in a big pack. They just seem to run everywhere through the streets, and like, this is, you think you look so cool, but you really don't. The introduction scene is quite funny because like everyone just sort of stood around waiting to go into the initiation chamber, and then this train like pulls up alongside, and all of these Dauntless guys just jump off and go, hey, yeah, woo, and like there's this soundtrack that comes in which is meant to make them seem really cool, which is like a and like, yeah, woo. So, jumping off this train, I couldn't help but
to be
piss
fair,
myself.
I was a fan of Power Rangers, so
yeah.
So Christina, she's competent fighter, got weapons and guns.
Yeah, she's trained to be like, you know, you never give up, you have like no fear, you're cool and reckless.
Okay,
And you got a gun.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, a skilled fighter, but not superpowered. So, sort of the middle ground. A bit like this film in terms of quality.
Nice job.
Hey.
Anyway.
That brings us on to, we're getting to the other good part of this sandwich, thank God. The next film you have definitely seen, and you've even mentioned it on the podcast before, back in our very first episode.
The Batman. CB's bedtime stories. Zoë Kravitz.
It is...
I'd love that.
Crazy You, Angry Street, otherwise known as Mad Max Fury Road. She is Toast the Knowing, aka one of the brides who is being taken to safety.
Yeah, interesting.
She's the one who is like Toast the Knowing is what they call her in the credits, but I don't think they ever mention it in the film.
Cool.
I was surprised to see Rosie Huntington-Whiteley as one of the brides too, actually, because I didn't know her from Transformers, and I was like, oh, she's actually a good film? Wow.
Does this mean we get back the old truck?
It does indeed. It does indeed.
Do we have, and this is my pitch, we have Toast the Knowing driving it.
Yes.
And we bring back Max in the passenger seat like we did in the first thing.
I think so.
Just have him chilling at the back for no reason, who will do nothing and say nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think let's take it one further. We described the bride as sort of like just screaming in the back in the first one. Mm-hmm. So what if Tom Hardy's
screaming in the back, pregnant?
Yeah.
Pregnant Tom Hardy screaming in the back. I'm down.
Yeah. Because watching the film, I was trying to buy okay, could this character feasibly sort of take control of this vehicle? And yeah, totally. She's the one who's the most sort of
competent.
Yeah, particularly her character. She's the one who's the most hands-on with all the weapons and shit. She's like, I've done all your ammunition count for you. You've got this many rounds. And she loads up all of the guns at one point. So I believe that she can take the wheel.
Yeah, they are competent. I don't know what I said in episode 1. I do remember saying that they screamed a lot. But they were competent as well.
Yeah.
I hope episode 1 Max brought that up.
But Mad Max Fury Road, fantastic film. Yeah, it was good seeing
another vehicle. We're bringing back a vehicle. It's been a while since we've had a vehicle.
The vehicles return with a vengeance. What I love with the film is that what they've basically done, they've gone, what if we take the principles of good filmmaking and use it to make a rad as hell film? It's just rad as fuck, but brilliantly made. The guy with the fucking guitar who soundtracks basically the villains the whole time. I just love it.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking epic.
It feels quite Robert Rodriguez in some scenes, but in the best way.
No, I get what I mean.
But yeah, just fantastic. And yeah, we've got a return of the big old war truck.
Cool.
Spiky shoots fire. She's behind the wheel. Good stuff.
Yep. Nice.
Now that brings us on to the end of the 8 picks here. Now this, I don't know if it'll be a revelation to you, but the Batman was not the first time Zoe Kravitz played Catwoman. She was actually reprising the role from an earlier film. However, the version of Catwoman in it is so different, and I'm sure you'll agree when you hear who it is, you'll want to put them as a separate entry on the list. Because you see, she's...
Oh, is she in Halle Berry's or something?
Not quite.
She's young Halle Berry in Catwoman.
Not quite. She's a little bit smaller than a child, for she is Lego Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. And I want to give Lego Catwoman her own entry because it's just Catwoman, but as a tiny little Lego minifigure.
Are we doing it same size as well? So she's just a tiny little.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's going to be interesting.
Same skill set as Catwoman, but teeny tiny. And because she's Lego, fuck it, we'll give her the cat cycle because every Lego minifigure needs a vehicle. So she can drive around on a tiny little Lego bike as tiny little Lego Catwoman.
Nice.
Again, fantastic film, Lego Batman movie. Brilliant. It feels like the perfect version of a 66 Batman, like an Adam West Batman in the modern era. That sort of tone, but for now. And it's just so joyous.
But a little bit updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what can we say about Lego Catwoman? Nothing really. She's about what?
I guess
an inch high.
Yeah.
An inch tall.
Yeah, if that. teeny tiny. She's possibly better with computers than your standard Catwoman, because I think her only scene in the film was where she goes, meow, 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 you're in. Like when she's doing some hacking. It's fantastic.
She's a good hacker. Good thing she take her 5 years going across the keyboard, but...
Yeah. But yeah, Lego Catwoman. Adorable. Nice. I mean, if we go by the rules of the Lego Batman universe, she might be the most competent version of that character, because Lego Batman is by far and away the most competent Batman, because not only does he defeat his own rogues gallery, he defeats the Daleks, he defeats the Eye of Sauron, he defeats the Wicked Witch of the West, he defeats all of cinema's most powerful villains. So by that logic, this must be the most powerful Catwoman.
Yeah, sure. So, do we have a wild card?
We do have a wild card. I had to think about this for a while because I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there was already a candidate. But,
ooh, I'll be interested. Who would you have chosen? Okay. I'll see if it matches up with who I've chosen.
Oh, well, Daddy Momoa.
Oh,
in Aquaman.
Yeah. See, I did think about this, but I think we could do a Jason Momoa episode all to himself, including Aquaman.
Yeah, he's been in lots of films.
He's got Game of Thrones, he's got Dune, he's got Aquaman.
Yeah, okay, that's 3.
I mean, we can use him. My alternative pitch is a bit of a stretch. Now, in the Batman, Zoë Kravitz Catwoman sort of indirectly takes on a sort of, criminal Birdman. And this isn't the first time a cat character has taken on a criminal Birdman in a film with superheroes.
Okay.
Well, it's not quite, because you see, we touched on it earlier. In Spider-Man 4, Black Cat was going to be closely aligned with the Vulture. Now, Catwoman is basically DC Black Cat, but it's reversed because Black Cat, I think, came after Catwoman. So, my pitch for the wild card is, since there is no way he'll ever show up in any other episode, we bring in the proposed John Malkovich Vulture as the wild card for this week's Fightography. I've seen the concept art for the film. It's basically your classic comics Vulture. He's got big old wings that are more like the Falcon than like MCU Vulture. It's sort of like big old metal wings. They can shoot metal feathers. He's got talons. So I propose that, knowing basically what his deal would be, we bring him in, as he's closely aligned with basically Catwoman ripoff.
John Malkovich Vulture, not the Vulture that's been in the MCU for a number of years now.
Oh no, that's Michael. That's in Michael Keaton's Fightography. Whenever we get to that one,
I'm just sad we didn't use the Vulture strain to bring in Dr. Michael Morbius. To be honest.
Oh God.
Malkovich.
Oh. No. Oh. I mean, if we have to suffer through Morbius, we may as well put it to good use and put him in an episode after we've seen it. At least we can pretend it was research purposes and not just us flagellating ourselves for some reason.
Nice. So we've got John Malkovich's Vulture, the Spider-Man villain, who has wings, nasty wings.
He can shoot metal feathers at people normally. He's got claws. He can sometimes drain people's age, but I don't think they would have done that in Spider-Man 4, so we won't bother including that here.
Cool.
But, I think there's so many weird links, because obviously, Black Cat is Marvel's Catwoman, and she was closely aligned with this Vulture. And not only that, but a specific actor who played Catwoman as well. So, there's a good link there. And we're not going to be able to ever use him in a John Malkovich episode, because that film does not exist in reality. So he can only really be a wild card to get away with it.
I'm going to pick John Malkovich next week. Spite these foolish thoughts.
So, our 8 candidates, we have Catwoman from the Batman. I'm trying to remember the order I did these in. Catwoman from the Batman. Senshi Range from After Earth. Lita Lestrange from Fantastic Beasts. Mary Jane Watson from Into the Spider-Verse. Angel Salvador from First Class. Christina from Divergent. Lego Catwoman from the Lego Batman movie. Oh, and Toast the Knowing from Mad Max, with the wild card being John Malkovich Vulture.
And where's this battle taking place?
Now, I was wondering if you had any ideas for this, Max, because I wasn't really sure about this one. We could set it in like sort of the canyon from Mad Max, so quite an open plain but a few levels. Or the best alternative I had, I think, was in celebration of the Batman, her role, which will send her on a meteoric rise to success. I was thinking maybe the gardens from the final bit of the film, where like it's all flooding a bit at the bottom, and you've got all the rafters they can fight in, and the water's not too high at this point, so they can sort of fight in the water. So
you mean Gotham Square Garden?
Yeah, Gotham Square Gardens.
Yeah, okay.
It's that or
I
the
just
canyon.
love that. We need a sort of name for an arena, and I know Gotham's based in like New York, Madison Square Garden. Yeah, just take out the Madison and put it Gotham. What? Take out Madison, put it in Gotham. Gotham Square Garden.
It's not the first time he's done that in a film. Everything in Gotham is just substitute Gotham.
Well.
Oh, the Dark Knight's got its own
Gotham
flaws,
Square
which we'll get into on the Christian Bale episode.
Gotham General Hospital is an accurate name for a hospital in general.
Well, what would you call?
What?
What would you call gardens that are in Gotham?
It's not an actual. It's an arena, like stadium-y.
There's, I'm pretty sure, plants somewhere. We haven't seen the entire thing. There's probably plants on the roof.
Fucking garden. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why it's called Madison Square Garden. Or maybe there's a square with fuck knows. Anyway, yeah, let's do it.
Don't make me break down the dinner party scene from The Dark Knight. I'll go there if we have to bring up flaws.
Dinner party. Yeah, the flaws that people didn't notice until 10 years later when they actually started analysing the film, because that's how good. Anyway,
I noticed
Madison
it.
Square Garden.
I noticed it.
Gotham Square. Yeah, sure you did. You were 10 years old. Gotham Square Garden. And the bell rings.
Ding ding. The bell rings in this perfectly named Gotham Square Gardens.
Yeah.
Battle begins. So, how do we think this goes down? Immediately, the truck is in a confined space, so they're going to have some issues.
Yeah. Have you seen the bit in Austin Powers where he's like trying to do a three-wheel turn and he's there for ages? Maybe it's like that thing. They're just like kind of shit. I don't know. I think it's probably big enough, that... Well, is it flooded? Oh, are we saying it's flooded?
It's like at the start where it's sort of mildly... It's like up to your ankles, so it's not that flooded yet, but there is water in there.
So the truck could probably move, but it's really struggling.
Yeah.
It's really, really struggling.
Yeah, it can't get up at any real degree of speed at the moment, so it's having some issues. But it can shoot fire still, so, it can do something.
If there's, say, like a foot of water, it's going to sort of, prevent people's mobility.
I'm also thinking this causes some troubles immediately for our smallest competitor.
It's not like she can drown, though. She's a piece of plastic.
I think she... we'll be fair, she can start on the stage bit.
She just gets washed down the drain.
She's like on the stage bit, so she's slightly raised, so she has like a slight
She's up
chance.
in the rafters. Oh, she's on the stage, okay, so not the rafters.
Yeah, but she can get up to the rafters. She can, like, drive up some...
I think Catwoman goes up to the rafters.
Yeah.
Because she does in the film. So she goes up into the rafters.
She goes straight up.
I'm feeling like some of these, these, like, crazy psychopath women with, guns are just going to just start unloading shots and just plugging bullets.
Well, I think
I think Mary Jane's going to be, stuck trying to, get out of the water.
Yeah, so I think Angel Salvador flies, because, makes sense. Catwoman goes into the rafters.
Flies up to the rafters.
Yeah. Mary Jane, I think, uses the web shooters to try and, like, get into the rafters. And I think she can, like... she can hit the rafters with the web, but she has to, like, climb up the rope. So that's going to take her some time.
Physically climb up, but she can't really do it.
Yeah.
And does that just leave her, like, just like a hovering, just kind of target?
Essentially, yeah. But
would Divergent Christina just, pop in the head?
I think the first one to go, to be in keeping with the film, Sentry Range from After Earth has to die almost immediately and do nothing.
Okay, so maybe Christina just pops her in the head.
Yeah. I think Christina, she's like, she knows what she has to do. She's got a mission, so yeah, she just immediately just pops her in the head. and she falls into the water and drowns, and is just there as a ghostly vision haunting Christina the rest of the rest of the match. Ooh, you killed me, Christina!
Yeah, she haunts. Yeah. So she haunts Christina, which is going to cause her some issues.
Yeah.
I also feel that Lita Lestrange, she knows it's a fight to the death. I know she's sort of a good character, but she has dark blood within her.
Oh yeah.
I think she, sees Mary Jane Watson vulnerable, Expelliarmuses her ass.
Yeah.
Plummets her, propels her, so high in the air that she just lands in the seating with just a big splat.
Yeah, totally.
And I think Mary Jane Watson, gone.
Yeah, a big cartoon splat, and she's gone. So Senshi and Mary Jane are both gone, although Senshi gets to stay around as a ghost haunting Christina.
So up on the rafters, you have Catwoman and Angel Salvador. Now, I think that's going to be an interesting battle.
Yes. Now, I think...
What's a Vulture doing?
Now, I think the Vulture's done the same thing as Angel. He sort of flown up to the rafters and is sort of like sitting in the rafters.
So it's a triple threat?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Now, does Malkovich Vulture mistake Black Cat, Catwoman for Black Cat? Much the same way that I just did there. My daughter.
I think if you did it, then,
Yeah, so I think he, tag teams with Catwoman thinking that it's his daughter. And
okay.
So, he won't swoop in immediately, because he's a bit of a rogue, so he's not going to immediately do the right thing. But he'll come in fairly quickly. So we have a little bit of a scrap between Catwoman and Angel, Angel sort of does her sort of dive bombing, spurting her fire breath. Catwoman's dodging it, trying to get her with the whip.
Yeah, she's quite agile, so she's doing flips and jumps everywhere. She can maybe try and catch her with a whip and lace it around her foot and sort of pull her onto the rafter for close range.
Yeah,
that could be good.
Yeah.
So she pulls her into the rafters close range. But it's going to be quite dangerous for her because then the acid breath is going to be within close range. I don't know, maybe preempting this, seeing the fight go down, this is where John Malkovich Vultures comes in and maybe blocks some of the acid with his wings.
I think so, yeah. I think he blocks
that seems like a good point for him to enter.
Yeah, I think he blocks it with the wing and then either underestimating it or just knowingly that has now put a big hole in his wing. So he's his flight is compromised.
He can't fly.
Yeah. But he's got big old wings, so he's just sort of swinging them around like sort of swords almost. I say, because he does have one fully functioning wing and they're very sharp and, he can shoot them. He is in close range to Angel. Does he, stab Angel quite ruthlessly, murder her? I think so.
Like a little butterfly wings.
Yeah. I think so. I think he glances. He sort of glances one of her wings with one of his wild swings, and that sort of catching her wing like that sort of throws her off and injures her. And then while she's sort of off, he just gets her with his sort of big pointy wings and stabs her through.
Nice.
Now,
so I guess in that case,
Angel is down. Angel has fallen. Probably a film.
No. In the fact that he is also fighting Angel in the sense that he thinks Catwoman is on his side, also revealing how lethal he is Catwoman just unloading her pistol and popping him in the head?
Oh yeah, I think it's just shot straight to the back of the head. Yeah, just immediate headshot, takes him out, dead.
Or maybe more stylistically, she kicks him off the rafters because she likes to kick sort of bald men off buildings, and because he can't fly, he just sort of spins to the ground with a big splat.
Yeah.
And dies.
Yeah. Maybe he's falling. So she shoots him maybe in the neck because he's wounded, and then kicks him off. And as he's falling to the ground, sort of plummeting like that, a small little Lego figure takes the opportunity to drive her cat cycle and bounces it off the Vulture's falling body to get into the rafters.
No, I was thinking that. So if how standing on Lego people describe as the worst thing ever. Well, what would happen if you fell 30 feet onto an erect piece of Lego? Would it not have stabbing penetrative capabilities.
Okay, yeah. So,
So Catwoman shoots Vulture in the neck, kicks him off the platform, landing on Lego Catwoman, killing him. So it's a Catwoman tag team.
Yeah.
And probably the only kill Lego Catwoman's ever going to get.
Yeah. I buy that.
Nice.
So, yeah, she's basically been like a bullet through his head when he hits the ground.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
So after this, I think, she'll take a bit of while to climb out of his bloodied head. So whilst that's going on, where are other competitors?
Mad Max is going to be driving around. Well, not Mad Max, but Toast in the truck is going to be like driving around pretty recklessly.
Yeah, she's screaming at Tom Hardy in the back to shut up.
And the crimes of Grindelwald. Yeah, Tom Hardy screaming, giving birth. So the truck is sort of speeding around the sort of bottom. The people in danger are Lita Lestrange, Christina Divergent, and Lego Catwoman.
Yes.
So what happens with this truck hurtling around?
Now, I think Lita has the magic ability to sort of make it fly into the air, should she so wish. Because she's very good at making heavy objects fly around.
Yes. So are you thinking that the truck goes for Lita?
I think it might do, yeah. She might see this sort of powerful wizard creature.
And does she see this as an opportunity to sort of lift it up and use it as a thing to fling it at someone else?
I think so, yeah. Would she even be so bold as to fling it into the rafters? Try and hit Catwoman?
Quite possibly. Yeah, maybe. So she flings it up into the rafters to try and hit Catwoman. Sort of in a similar vein to the film. I think Toast just getting flung into the air is screaming as well. I think again Catwoman is really agile in the Batman, so I think again she's maybe going to avoid the direct impact from the truck.
Yeah.
But she's going to get launched and thrown off that rafter.
Yeah.
At quite a velocity.
Yeah, I think she leaps off the rafter she's on, but because of the size of the truck, when it hits the rafters, the whole lot just comes down. So there's nothing she can grab onto.
Collapses. So she's falling from 30 foot.
So
does she fall onto Lego Catwoman?
Oh yeah. I was just thinking about
a non-biological father.
Yeah. No, I think she's got her whip, but nothing for it to latch onto. Yeah.
Yeah.
She could, I guess.
The whole thing is collapsing.
She could try and pull an Uncharted, I guess, and just sort of try and stand on top of the truck and somehow survive that hitting the floor. But
I don't know. I think in this very grounded world, I think she's falling 30 foot.
Yeah.
Splatting onto Lego Catwoman.
Oh no, not again.
Who takes another victor. Also, you've got all this So I think Catwoman's dead, I think.
I
don't know how she survives that.
Maybe instead of landing on Lego Catwoman tries to save the Batman Catwoman. She revs her cat cycle,
still
launches
not ending well.
Goes up a ramp, tries to get into the air. She gets her little Lego claw around Catwoman's collar, thinking she'll try and pull her to safety. But of course, she's less than half an inch tall, so she's nowhere near strong enough. She just gets pulled with Catwoman into the water. So now Lego Catwoman is in the water, probably drowning. She's about to lose her studs. Her studs are going to fall everywhere.
She's concussed and drowning. I don't think she survives it, I'm afraid.
No.
I think it's very difficult for her to survive that.
And
also we now have a falling rafter.
Yeah.
Is that rafter going to fall on anybody? I guess Lita Lestrange is protected because she can hover the rafter then.
Yeah, so she can shield herself.
So she's going to be safe. What's happening to...
Can Christina dodge it? I don't
know.
If the entire rafters is coming down, then I don't know. She's not superpowered or anything. She's sort of competent, but she's, a fairly average human.
I hate to pitch this to you, Dan. So we're in a stadium that is quite big, but it's flooded. Someone has flung a giant truck at the entire rafter. The entire rafter has collapsed. surely Toast in the truck is going to be dead. The exploding truck on impact.
Yeah, I'm calculating what happens in the
Christina
split seconds.
is going to really struggle to, dodge any of this.
Oh, I've got it.
Catwoman's dead. Is this not just a great move that has basically wiped out the rest of the board? A single move. It's killed 4 people.
Essentially, I think what happens is similar to what happens in Mad Max, funnily enough, because Christina is being haunted now by Sentry Range. As all this starts to going down, she gets distracted by the ghost of Sentry Range going, "Ooh, yes. You killed me!" A bit like in Mad Max, where he sees
I
sort
will
of the girl.
Avenge you.
Yeah. So this distraction causes her to pause, and that pause gets her crushed under a piece of rafter. She's slap bang in the impact zone. Christina's gone, and with her, the ghost of Sentry Range can leave this world at last and rest
in peace. So we've got the Crimes of Grindelwald, Lita. We got Toast from Mad Max, and
that's it.
Lego Catwoman. Is
Lego Catwoman
but she's drowning. Alive or dead?
Okay, so Lego Catwoman.
How does a piece of plastic drown? We've got to think about it. I mean, it's not really alive in the first place.
Oh no! Of course, there's another factor we're forgetting here. Catwoman, does she have 9 lives like in Batman Returns? Because it's a lot more grounded. Okay, fair enough. But I think Lego Catwoman can get we'll give her not 9, but we can give her the 4 hearts you get in a Lego game, basically. Because Lego Catwoman exists in a world where she'd have 9 lives.
Okay.
But we'll be fair, we'll give her the 4 hearts you get in a Lego game.
Okay, in that case, she's been crushed by a 6-foot man. So that's 1 life. She's fallen 30 foot into water. That's another life. She started drowning. And so she's got 1 life
She's
left.
got 1 heart left. She's managed to pull herself up onto the rafter. That's now sort of, it's in the water, but it's above the water level.
What's happened to Toast from in the truck from Mad Max? Because surely that truck goes up in flames.
I mean, yeah. So it hits the rafters, and there's wreckage everywhere, and it's just spurting oil and gas and shit. Now, there are 2 ways: either she jumps out and somehow manages to duck and roll it, or
fall 30 feet.
Yeah, or she just dies either from the impact or from the truck exploding.
I say. So Lego Catwoman kind of finds a little kind of piece of, I don't know, material to kind of pull herself to safety. Toast jumps out of the truck, falls 30 feet.
Oh no!
Directly on top of Lego Catwoman.
Oh, poor Lego Catwoman.
She's just covered in brains at this point.
Okay. So
Mad Max Toast destroyed. Lita could probably put some kind of shield around her.
Yeah, there's a bit where
levitate stuff from around her. So I think she's probably the only person, other than Lego Catwoman, who's going to be safe.
There is a bit where one of the bad wizards shields himself with a magic shield.
Yeah.
So she could probably use that.
Yeah, I think it happens a few times.
Yeah.
And is Lego Catwoman now dead because she's lost her last life?
Oh, if this kills her, then I guess she has to go. Yeah.
But it's either that, and she survives, and then Lita just kind of walks over and then just crushes her under her heel, or for the first time in Fightography history, a single outrageous move has wiped out essentially everyone left alive on the board.
I think, if we're going to be reasonable with this, it has to do. Yeah, the truck finishes off half the board. But I think we got the most interesting fights in first, Angel versus Catwoman and Vulture. And So, the truck, brings down all the rafters, hits the ground again, explodes, I'm sure, because there's a whole bunch of gas and flame in that truck. Lita shields herself with the shield magic. The flame, if not for the crushing body of Toast, kills Lego Catwoman. And Lita stands alone amongst the fiery, drowning wreckage.
Yep. A wizard going into the final fight is going to be very tricky. A powerful, talented wizard as well.
We've got a powerful wizard and a god in the Champion of Champions now.
Yeah, so Lita Lestrange.
Lita Lestrange.
Zoë Kravitz.
Yeah.
Wins.
Yeah.
How very, very très intéressant.
But the real winner here is Zoë Kravitz because her career is going to skyrocket, I predict.
Quite possibly. She's going to get a lot more roles. And she's also been in some really cool franchises. I know she hasn't had like the greatest roles in it, but you know, playing like Mary Jane, that's a big character. And you know, also being in the Harry Potter world. She's got a fun little career, really. Worked with M. Night.
It's like I said at the start, it was surprising seeing how much she was actually in, and we just sort of didn't really remember her because she wasn't given the chance to sort of shine that much until now. But yeah, Lita Lestrange wins the Zoë Kravitz Fightography. I have the results of the poll from the Robert Pattinson episode. Spoilers if you haven't listened to it. So our final four, to remind you, were the Batman, Edward Cullen, Jacob the Wildcard, and Cedric Diggory were the final four. And with 100% of the vote, it is, of course, the Batman. He was always going to win.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we got it right.
Jacob was going to win, and then it would be like, whoa, Jacob. Good.
Yeah. Bang on, as you'd expect. Him and Spider-Man are going to have to put aside the differences for the Champion of Champions if they can stand a chance.
I don't know. We'll have to find this out.
I guess we haven't seen...
coming up against a wizard.
Having seen the Batman now, we can confirm he does not use the bat signal thing.
No.
So...
I can't remember what we said in regards to that.
It was like possibly a way he'd like hypnotise Edward because he's like a vampire bat and shit.
He does have adrenaline though, and you know, something like adrenaline could have done him wonders.
Yeah.
I think it maybe has a similar effect. So I think we got that right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, spot on. And plus his bat suit is like indestructible, so you know, he walks through gunfire and explosions.
To be fair. Like that was the thing. I'm surprised there hasn't been more criticisms on the fact that like he takes so many bullets. Like you'd think one would like clock him in the jaw or at least penetrate that armor.
I guess that'll be a problem for future Batman. People figure out, oh shit, shall we just aim for the head? And then go, oh yeah, that's probably a good idea.
There's a really funny bit where at the end, where one of the Riddler's henchmen have got like a shotgun and Batman's like out concussed. And he's got the final chance to like kill him, and instead of putting it to his jaw where his skin is visible, he puts it to his temple. And I'm like, dude,
idiot.
Yeah.
Well, I think I might be wrong, but I think the cowl is actually just leather in the Batman. Like it's not actually armored like the rest of the suit. So he might have got away with it.
Yeah, maybe, quite possibly. But even then, it then begs the question like. How did not one of those earlier gun shells get a headshot?
I mean, if weird little tangent here, if you've read like the book World War Z, which is very different to the film, but basically they sort of make a point in there of pointing out like in a zombie war, the traditional soldiers and shit are trained normally to aim for your body, like it's your biggest area of most damage. They're trained to aim for like your sort of torso. So if these guys have been trained with standard training, they're going to sort of do the same principles. So they're not really used to aiming for the head. So I guess you know.
I don't know, and I suppose we'll never know.
Indeed, but there we go. That is this week's episode. Do we have any emails?
We've got some business tips from Google.
Oh.
I don't suppose you want me to read out our business tips.
Let's educate our audience, shall we? What business tips have we got?
Okay. There we go, let me get it out. Business tip. Stand out on Google with free business profile. Attract customers on Google search and maps with a free business profile for your storefront or service area. Your profile appears when people are looking for businesses like yours. Make it stand out with personalized photos, posts, offers, and more. Manage now.
Wow. There you go, folks. We're educational as well as entertaining. Hope you like those tips.
I'm not sure either.
But we suffer. But yeah, the Twitter, as always, is @jazz_lasagna. I'll put up a poll on Monday, as always, to see if you agree with our pick for this week, or if you think we were unfair to an earlier competitor, then let us know. You can email us on, what is the email, Max?
jazzlasagna@gmail.com.
Beautiful. And yeah, that's all we have to say this week. Lita Lestrange is our Zoë Kravitz champion. Thank you for listening to Jazz Lasagna's Fightography. I have been Dan.
I have been Max.
See you all next week. Well, you'll hear us.
Is this my turn to go? Bye.
Yeah, you get the sign off this week, Max. Own it.
See ya, chumps.
Beautiful.
Is that from Spider-Man?
Yeah, I think so. It's Spider-Man 3, isn't it?
Good.
See you, chump.